$360 million.
Yeah, it's so
for this
weird. Okay, here's the where. See now, make it bigger and scroll down because here's what makes me wonder if this is real or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because they say that the budget, total production budget's 363. Okay.
Right.
Now they're only spending. They're getting 11 million back in tax credit
Mm-hmm. On the eligible expenditures.
on the eligible expenditures, which is only $36 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. That's what they're spending in Ohio.
And their total percentage of production budget being shot in Ohio, 25%. Okay. Is 36 million 25% of 363 million?
No,
Do the
but
math.
we're looking at the eligible expenditures, though. So not everything is going to be eligible.
Fair.
So, yeah, because when you look at this, so for example, what you're looking at, folks, is this is the budget, supposedly, that is on file.
To me, it doesn't
Ohio
look like some
film
numbers
tax
are matching
credits.
up. But yeah.
This is for Project Genesis, and no, not Star Trek Wrath of Khan. This is Superman Legacy. This is James Gunn's Superman Legacy. We're looking at potentially $360 million here. Not terribly surprising, consider what we see Disney spend on some of these things.
Yeah, but it is surprising considering Zaslav wanted to do these for cheaper. He's doubling the budgets.
That's why I'm wondering. But if you look at this, I mean, let's break it down. So what this is saying here is that, all right, timing of production. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
For $360 million, you can make 3 damn Superman movies for that at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so the date that the Ohio production office is expected to be operating, so that would be the corporate entity that would house this Genesis project title from S&K Pictures Incorporated, okay, distributed by Warner Brothers. April 1st. First pre-production date, February 5th, so we're already there. We're already in pre-production. The final production date in Ohio, August 23rd. Total number of Ohio production days. Now, this is what suggests this is a pretty substantial, what they got going here. 133 prep days. So, I mean, they're building a lot of stuff with this in Ohio. 37 shooting days. That ain't much. That's maybe a third, I would think, of the total principal photography time for a film like this. 31 days of wrap. 201 total days, but most of that, of course, is prep. There's only about a third of the principal photography being done here. Total percentage of the production that's being shot in Ohio, 25. So that's being shot. Now, they use the word shot. Now, I don't know if that means they're using that as a general catch-all for the production, or do we actually mean actual principal photography days? Because if that's the case, then they're shooting way more than, they're shooting closer to 120, 130 days. Which is a lot for a feature film. Usually you see maybe 90, but I could see it getting up to 100, 120. But I mean, that's a pretty sizable amount of shoot. But if you look down, what Tom was talking about, okay, so the total production budget, $363 million. Now, I'm assuming, and I don't know the Ohio reporting requirements on this. I've got to dig. But I don't know what that really includes. That'd be principal photography, pre-production, post-production, everything. Is there more than one thing going on here? I mean, we know in the UK and most places when you file for film tax credits, you have to make a filing for each individual production. Is it possible they're also shooting for something else in here that would follow it up that they're going to use in another film? Maybe it could. $363 million is a hell of a lot of money, though. Total eligible production expenses, again, just the portion they're doing in Ohio, $36.9 million. Now, what those eligible expenses would be, hiring staff to build the sets, if they're bringing in, if they're hiring an Ohio film production crew or something like this to do some of the shoots, that would be eligible expenses. Catering for it, any materials, parts, and labor that they're using to build the sets, along with the labor to build those sets, would be eligible if they're hiring Ohio residents and Ohio businesses to do it. Things that are not eligible: paying the main actors, paying the director, paying the head writer, executive producers, all that. You don't get credits for that stuff. So, but let's assume for a second this is correct. That's a big damn budget. That is a really big budget. Part of me wonders, I'm like, Tom, I feel like that can't be right.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I mean, even though like we've seen the Disney thing, but the Disney thing, and it boggles me more so just because, like, okay, if it wasn't if it was any other day of the week, I'd be like, okay, sure. But David Zaslav's number one priority here right now has been to cut budgets, cut costs, bring some cash flow back into the studio, make properties like Harry Potter and DC big again and profitable. And one of the main ways he pointed out doing that was by bringing the budgets down on these movies. And that was part of my understanding from some of the stuff I was hearing behind the scenes a while back when I was reporting on all this stuff, was that's one of the main reasons they wanted to kind of reboot, is so they didn't have to pay the kind of money they had to pay Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot and all these other people, because you're talking $10, $15 million, $20 million paydays in some cases, as opposed to Corn Sweat, who's probably getting, like the first time Henry Cavill played Superman, basically scale times 2, right? Which is probably what he's getting the first time out. And that's kind of how these things work usually. So they can get themselves back down there. But I just don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know what they're planning on doing. Are they planning on blowing
that would make it the most expensive Superman movie to date.
I mean, you look at where they're shooting, the region that they're shooting, Cleveland and Cincinnati. Now, one of the things I could believe is that you paid the city of Cleveland.
They're shooting in Illinois, and I think but they were planning on shooting in Kansas, but something didn't happen.
Well, this is just for the Ohio film tax credit. So they're shooting in Cleveland,
right? But I'm just saying what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, and there's definitely other places, because this is only.
Well, I know that they're shooting in where they consider Superman's home, and it's in Illinois, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they're shooting in that town just as a, nod.
Yeah. They can do all that kind of stuff, but I mean, shooting around that area. Look, you could pay the city of Cleveland, say, hey, look, your city's already a dump. We'll give you $60 million to let us just blow up some buildings down here for real. I mean, if you were Cleveland, you'd take it.
Well, wouldn't that be in that $30-some million then, though? See, that's what I'm saying.
No, I know. They're not really going to do that, folks. It was a joke.
No, but you're not wrong. They've done that before. I mean, sometimes when they've had buildings that there's a few that come to mind, but specifically like the Lethal Weapon 3. Is it 3? Or whichever one it is that begins with the building blowing up.
The building blowing up, yeah. It's
already
that was a building they were just
going
hey,
they
we
were
have a
blow
condemned
it up
building.
Anyway. Yeah.
Can we be there and film it and make a little
There
bit
was the
more
one
boom.
in Vegas, too. What was the one they did not too long ago in Vegas? Was it the Tower Heist movie or one of the other ones where they practically destroyed a whole building because they're going to demolish it anyway?
Yeah.
I think it was that one. One
has
of those
been known
movies,
to happen. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It happens quite often. No, in Illinois, I think they were going to use that as a stand-in for Kansas, because there's that town there and that called Smallville or whatever that they claim is, or I don't remember the name of the town, but
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up here. Hang on here. I was reading a story about it, but anyway, continue with your stuff. It's not that important.
No, I'm just going to say, I think, I don't know what to make of this. This seems, like I said, this seems almost impossible, but yet there it is. I don't know. I'd love to get more of the breakdown on this. I got to dig into it, but.
Well, never mind. It is Ohio. I was thinking Illinois for some reason. It's Ohio. So this is where they're shooting, is this place where they claim is the true birthplace of Superman. There you go. So, okay. Sorry.
Maybe so.
That was what I got two things mixed up.
Yeah. For whatever they're shooting there, but I mean, that's a lot. When I see 133 days of prep, that's 4 months. So that would suggest to me that, I mean, apart from scouting, apart from, I mean, what do they build? That's a lot of prep for that they're not really building a bunch of set pieces or planning a lot of big stuff there. I mean, even if they were just shooting for 2 weeks, if they had a huge stunt or a huge something to set up there, I mean, that's a good bit of prep time. And you think about this, that's all the prep they're doing just for those 37 days. That doesn't include all the prep and stuff they're doing wherever else they're shooting, for this film. So there's obviously another 60 to 90 days more of principal photography that's going on elsewhere. So that's a lot of money. I hope it's a typo in the application. What's really important for Ohio is how much they're spending there. How many eligible dollars are they spending in Ohio to generate the film tax credit? And in this case, the film tax credit they're estimating to be about $11.091 million based on the the $36.9 million of eligible expense. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think this could possibly be real? I mean, that kind of crazy budget. If it is, what do you think about that?
Well, what precedent do we have to know that Genesis is Superman? Because I know you guys have your ways of figuring out the Star Wars names, for instance.
Oh yeah, like that was
because I wonder if it's something else completely. But even still, that kind of money, that's insane.
Well, if you look at, I mean, SNK Pictures falls under. I looked at the Ohio Motion Picture Tax Credit website, started pulling it up, but if you look at, so for example, I guess let me just go here. If I can get it to pull up, I'll show you on IMDb Pro because that was one of the first places.
It comes up as a Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
yeah,
SNK, SNK. So I mean, if you're looking for stuff that,
but wouldn't it be under DC Films? That's what I'm saying, because that's kind of the whole.
Well, but not necessarily.
It's like how Marvel, that's the whole thing they're doing it now is they have the new DC Films division, right? So
they have the division, but that doesn't mean that's true. Who the actual production company is going to be.
I don't know. That just seems like a lot of fucking.
Hal Shaw for 5. Donner started shooting Superman and Superman 2 simultaneously. Possibly the same thing happening here.
I was thinking that.
That's what we were talking about. Depending on what Ohio's regs are for how you report this, $360 million for Superman Legacy. Has me questioning a lot of things. Well, what's going on?
If that's one movie, they're betting the farm.
I mean, yeah, but
and why would Zaslav bet the farm? Zaslav doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who bets the farm. So no. Ohio's got that listed in the tax filing as Project Gemini, I believe.
Genesis. Yeah.
Genesis, Project Genesis. So we don't know. We don't know what Genesis covers. How many chapters are in this book of Genesis that they're doing in Ohio? I don't know.
That's what's hard to say. But what I found striking was the fact that you had 37 days of principal photography. So they said that represents 25% of the shooting days at 37 shooting days. That's a lot of shooting days then. Because now we're talking about nearly 150 principal photography shooting days for one feature film. That's a lot. You're pushing like a Netflix series with those kind of things. I mean, you think
James Gunn is going for a Lord of the Rings Superman trick here?
That's what has me wondering. Because the other thing is, if you noticed,
are they shooting pieces of Supergirl, maybe a series in the same time? That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it depends on Ohio's reporting, right? But 133 days of pre-production for 37 days of shooting. I'm like, what are they building?
Is that where they're setting up their home base, perhaps?
No, it's just they have dates slated for pre-production, principal photography, another 30 days for wrap, and then they had basically that's their exit. So, and they had $36 million of eligible expenses in Ohio.
Well,
so
that basically, many days, that means they're building something then.
That's what I'm saying. Basically $1 million a day based on the principal photography is what they're spending. $1 million a day in eligible expenses.
If they're because that's the thing is I heard Kansas lost out on this. So maybe if they're using Cleveland as a stand-in for Kansas, maybe they're building an entire farm.
Like I said,
a couple other things in one area. Yeah.
You could blow up half of downtown Cleveland and nobody would notice or care.
Well, so here's an example. I remember they spent a truckload of money in Superman Returns just to get a whole field of corn raised in time. It was like, are you kidding? And then it got so big they had to cut it off, and it was like, yeah, it was insane. Yep. So sometimes they spend money on some of the stupidest crap in these movies. But
here's the headline, guys, on that story. In my opinion, at the least, okay, let's pretend that it's only one movie, okay, which is a big deal there, but if it's just one movie, and if the production budget is that amount, that's not including advertising, that's not including marketing, that's not including anything but production.
Right.
That is, at minimum, a $500 million investment in whatever James Gunn is going to do launching the DCU under David Zaslav, who is known to be a penny pincher and isn't going to spend anything that is unnecessary, a $500 million investment. And that's the minimum, because if that's multi-pictures that we're talking about, then you've got all that marketing up there for 2 or 3 films. And then you start saying, Zaslav just committed $1 billion, right? So anywhere between $500 million and $1 billion, depending on how many movies there are.
Mm-hmm.
That is money. That is money being invested in whatever it is that James Gunn has come up with. Zaslav is totally on board. It doesn't matter if it's 1 picture, 2 pictures, or 3 pictures. This is a shot to try to get their foot in the door, to get the crown away from Marvel. There's no better time. There's never going to be a better time to try to take this away from Marvel. This is the shot. They're going to take it, and it's amazing. I didn't think they'd put this kind of money behind Superman or the DCU, and they're going to.
At least what that suggests, if it's all really for one production, or they're breaking
if it's 2 or 3, start adding in all of these different marketing budgets and everything, and you get close to $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. I mean, we know they're going to spend $1 billion on the DCU over the course of time, but on one film spending $500 million, that seems, yeah.
But, Valiant, think about it this way. So you're exactly right. If it's 3 films, we know they're going to spend that money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're spending it all in one swing. Like
they're
that
looking
money
to merge
was
and
approved
sell.
all at once.
And they're looking to merge or sell, so that means this could be somebody else's problem.
That's true too, Tom.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and
like
Marvel's
I said,
moving their stuff out of the way. They're moving Blade. They're moving all this other stuff because they're scared of Superman. We've never seen Marvel scared before. At least not in the last 15 years.
Yeah. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.